For another maiden speech, Conor Naismith.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, for the opportunity to make my maiden speech, and may I congratulate you on your election. I am particularly proud to be able to make my maiden speech in a debate on rail, as the Member of Parliament for a constituency with railways literally woven into its DNA. The town of Crewe grew up around the railway station, and the development of Crewe and the rail network went hand in hand in the 19th century. My constituents will be delighted to have a government committed to delivering a publicly owned and passenger-focused railway, the need for which hit home to me only too well when the former Shadow Rail Minister was severely delayed on the rail network when visiting my constituency late last year. Now, I cannot begin to talk about the history of elected representation in Crewe and Nantwich without making reference to the towering figure that is the late Gwyneth Dunwoody. Still today, I meet people whose lives had been touched by Gwyneth's unmistakable ability to fight for her constituents' interests. She was truly fierce, an excellent parliamentarian and public servant. And I would also like to pay tribute to my immediate predecessor, Kieran Mullen, who has gone to great lengths to demonstrate his commitment to our democracy, approximately 250 miles, in fact, from Crewe to Bexhill. The now honourable member for Bexhill and Battle did a great deal to champion the cause of the many volunteer groups across my constituency in his time as its MP, and I would like to thank him for that and congratulate him on taking up his place on the Shadow Transport team. I love the place that I have been sent here to represent, from the major towns of Crewe and Nantwich to the beautiful villages and parishes like Shavington, Haslington, Wisterston, Williston and Rope, among others. Crewe is a fantastic town where I am proud to live with my family. The gateway to the north and a key rail interchange with a proud history of train manufacturing in the Crewe Works, which once employed over 20,000 people. I believe strongly that rail can be pivotal to Crewe's future as well as its past, and intend to be a strong advocate for improved transport infrastructure connecting the North and the Midlands, with Crewe at its heart. And it's not just trains that run through my constituency. So does a belief in the importance of employment rights and trade unionism. And at the tail end of the 19th century, the pioneering campaigner for the rights of women workers and suffragist Ada Neild Chew wrote a series of letters to the Crewe Chronicle under the pseudonym A Crewe Factory Girl, shining a light on poor working conditions in the factory she worked in, and many of the issues that she raised in those letters, such as insecure work, unpredictable hours, the gender pay gap, and the denial of a living wage, a phrase that she actually used all that time ago, remain all too relevant today, which is why I firmly welcome this government's commitment to bringing forward an employment rights bill. And I am proud also to support the campaign of Kate Blakemore in my constituency to commission a statue for Ada in Crewe. My constituency is also home to some of Britain's finest sporting exports, notably through the Academy of the mighty Crewe Alexandra, a famous academy that has produced some cult heroes from our national game, from David Platt to Danny Murphy and Dean Ashton. The Alex have consistently punched above their weight, and the importance of the Railwomen, as the club is also affectionately known, was driven home to me during the election campaign as a result of an unexpected boost to my prospects, as the now leader of the opposition was pictured wearing a scarf of our rivals, Port Vale, on a visit to Stoke. Now, Nantwich is a beautiful, historic market town which sees large numbers of tourists pass through every single year. Historically, it was a centre of production of salt and the manufacture of leather goods, from which the affectionate nickname the Dabbers for the town's residents is believed to derive. But today, Nantwich is famous for a host of civic and cultural events throughout the year, including the International Cheese Show, the Nantwich Food Festival, a jazz festival, and a words and music festival, among many others. These events show the best of the community in Nantwich, often driven by volunteers and supported actively by Nantwich Town Council. They demonstrate what can be achieved in a modern landscape for small towns while still actively respecting our heritage. Across Crewe and Nantwich we have a thriving business community, home to some of Britain's most famous exports, from the luxury vehicles produced at Bentley Motors to the ice cream vans at Whitby Morrison. And I am immensely proud to represent a constituency which is already a pioneer of Labour's fantastic policy to buy, make and sell British. We have beautiful green spaces and environmental gems too, such as green flag parks like Queen's Park, lovingly supported and maintained by the Friends of Queen's Park group, which is led ably by Sheila, Richard and Alan, among others. And we also have the River Weaver, which flows through Nantwich. And I know that my constituents, like the local WI group who I joined on a demonstration recently, will rightly expect me to champion the cause of cleaning up our rivers in this Parliament, and I welcome the steps that this government has already taken to doing just that. Now, it's been a long campaign. I know that my colleagues will attest to that, where many of us have been asked so many questions, and I don't know if to be flattered or offended that the question I was most often asked during the campaign was, have you finished school yet?
Have you?
just about. But far and away, the most common question was, why should we trust any of you? And I know that is an experience that was reflected in many of the experiences that my colleagues had on the campaign. And in this question lies possibly the most fundamental challenge facing this government. Because after 14 years of managed decline, people no longer believe that politics can deliver anything but decline. That politicians are only in it for themselves, their attention and their focus distant from the priorities of the ordinary families that they seek to represent. And I came to this place from a career with the Independent Office for Police Conduct, whose role is to independently uphold standards and ensure that the public can have confidence in the police. There is no doubt that there is much work to do in that space, but I believe strongly that I and my colleagues in this House from across all parties have a duty to uphold standards and restore public confidence in our politics and aspiration and opportunity to our communities. And I know that it is sometimes claimed by the party opposite that my party has a problem with aspiration. But I know this not to be true. My party understands that being evicted, living under fear of being evicted from your home, is a barrier to aspiration. Your parents living in in-work poverty is a barrier to aspiration. And being unable to receive the treatment that you need if you were to become ill is a barrier to aspiration. And the Labour Party, when given the chance to serve the British people, has a fine record of smashing barriers to aspiration. It did it for a working class kid like me, and it will do so again. I'm confident of that. And for that reason, I wholeheartedly welcome the Prime Minister's belief that politics is about service, and his commitment to leading a government that focuses relentlessly on delivering for people, putting country first and party second. And I promise to always do my best to serve and represent my constituents in that spirit for as long as they trust me to do so. Yeah.